Path of Exile 2 is a game that I've been looking at for quite some time, primarily because a good friend of mine at the time introduced me to the original Path of Exile, which I had no intention of playing, but fell in love with because, well, let's face it, any action RPG I had just seemed to lose myself into. No matter how much I tell people that I like playing shooters, action RPGs seem to just completely take me out of reality. So it wasn't really shocking to me, or anybody else for that matter, when I got into playing Path of Exile 2, that I just seemed to have settled into a quiet groove and kept playing and playing and playing, which is something that Grinding Gear Games has always been good at when it comes to Path of Exile, is that their entire environment makes you just want to sink into it and absorb all of it. We'll get into talking about all the intricate things that you can see and do inside of the game without being a full review in just a moment. For those of you who are new here, my name is Gumrack. I am a variety streamer over on Twitch, and I'd like to thank you for stopping in and taking a look at my video today. We're at 1,200 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy to me. I can't thank you guys enough for that. If you like what you see here today, make sure you hit the subscription button, hit the bell notification, let you know when I put out a new video, because my videos are pretty scarce at the moment. With all the introduction out of the way, let's get into Path of Exile 2. When I first got into the game, obviously you have your standard character sets to be able to pick from that allow you to pick your certain character, and I didn't even bother to record it because you don't get a chance to actually adjust or make your character look different. They're predetermined as part of the story, and you just pick the class type that you want. And with that, I regret it because, well, there was a huge intro video that I should have recorded and either give you guys some footage of it. It was pretty awesome, but at the same time, I thought better of it because it really should be something that you watch for yourself. If you're interested in the game, trust me, it will not disappoint. Any seasoned Path of Exile 1 player is going to fit right into the game as the game settles into a very familiar model that most of the people in Path of Exile are used to. Sure, the menus and layouts may be different, but their core principles to any Path of Exile game is still present when it comes to sockets and skills and putting them into a standard QRSW and whatever key set you decide to bind, which has allowed the game to be able to keep its primary core from the first game, which is the sheer stupidly large amount of customization you can do to your character for builds when it comes to passives and skills. However, the new thing that will throw off a few players is the fact that they've now added WASD movement into the game, leaving you to have your mouse cursor completely independent. You can, however, switch between those skill sets anytime you want so that you don't have to use the WASD movement, but you can't do them on the fly, so you can't do them in the middle of a fight currently. Although the devs have been spoken to by quite a few people who want this option, and they're up for it, but it depends on how well they're able to take care of it. They have a few things that they need to take care of before they start adding quality of life items that we would like for functionality that already works. But I think the most interesting thing that comes to Path of Exile 2 that most people haven't thought of is the fact that it is completely stable. I have crashed 2 times while it was there, and it's because of some weird bug inside of the options menu and not because I was playing. So far, the game has been solid as a rock and the servers have been completely steady for me. That seems to be the general story that you hear from a lot of people. We will see, however, when the game goes free to play and the servers catch on fire, how well that works out. But it looks good because currently in early access and the early release of the game, there's more than 500,000 players on the game and the servers are still good to me. However, the largest complaint that you're going to hear about the game is that the game seems to be too hard, according to some people, and that has always been the case when it comes to a Path of Exile game. They do an excellent job from beginning to end of making the monsters feel really dangerous, especially towards the next chapter after the next chapter after the next chapter in the acts, you certainly feel the increase of monsters coming at you and how hard they hit and what their patterns are when they beeline straight to your face. It's definitely frustrating, but it's intended that way. I have banged my head against the wall trying to defeat a boss inside of Diablo less than I have inside of PoE. PoE is definitely probably one of the hardest boss fight games I've ever played when it comes to in-game content. Now, while I may not be in the in-game completely for this game, I can tell you for certain that anyone who played it did not reach the in-game easily. So if you're expecting some kind of easy mode and either to play the game to get through it and experience it, you're not going to find that kind of experience here. You need to go into this game fully understanding that the large tree of spells and passives that you're going to have to go through in order to make yourself successful towards the end game is rather substantial and actually needed. You will run into quite a few mini bosses along the way inside of your chapters, and some that are considered to be, actual bosses for the area, but nothing will actually ever compete to the end of the act that you're in boss, in which in every case of PoE that I've ever played has never slouched on it. The events are unique and difficult. However, the storyline in the game, while completely epic, is also very lacking in the department of me giving a shit about anything that they're telling me. So normally I just click on them and then click through and move on through the play. While not everyone is going to do that, you will be able to tell whether you do it or not, how you could see someone would want to do it, because it's very hard to be invested into the story because there seems to be a severe lack of soul and emotion in some of the things that go on from the NPCs when they tell you. You get more soul and emotion from some of the side quests that you run into with people that have people missing or things that you need to guard than you do the NPCs that are pushing the main story along. While they are very well done, there just seems to be a very severe lack of emotion to connect me to that character, although their storyline does make a very compelling argument to be connected to them to begin with. But most people seem to be connected to their character just based off of their build, regardless of what the story is inside of the game. I want to make a character that just blasts hordes and hordes of enemies all the time, rain fire, brimstone down on them. It seems to be a large portion of the community, which I don't blame them because Grinding Gear Games has done an excellent job on their spell abilities and even has included a new set of abilities inside of the game that allows spells to combine, in which, for example, you have Flame Wall down and then you use the electric shock and it passes through the flame wall. You will now have electricity that is on fire. Which brings me to one of my final points when it comes to the combat of this game, is that if you are having trouble defeating some kind of boss, it is because of your build. The game is directly related to your build and how well it synergizes with everything else in either to clear certain bosses. They have DPS checks and basic gear checks inside of this game like there used to be in old school WoW raiding. But gear doesn't seem to be the most prevalent feature inside of the game. Instead, you have a very large, prevalent, passive skill tree and support gems to be able to build all the synergy that you want, and the leveling just increases the damage that goes with it. However, understanding your abilities and how they synergize with other items will be how you get from point A to point B in either struggling or in a crushing them manner. So it's important, and I cannot stress it enough, that this game will in fact test your patience. If you are not the kind of person who likes to fail, rebuild, try something new, and then try again, this game is going to be very hard on you. But that it can also be easily fixed by running a cooperative mode inside of the game, which so far has been also flawless between me and a possible Zulu 7 being able to play the game together. But I can say for certain that there's hours and hours and hours of play within inside the game, and even a lot of replayability with the introduction of a hardcore mode, just like Diablo. Now, people will make a lot of comparisons to this game to Diablo, but the reality is that the game is much harder than any Diablo I have ever played, and I don't want to discourage you from playing it. But the game is very well done and very well put together, and it will less frustrate you if you know exactly what you're walking into. It's a little too early to make any kind of a build for people to be able to play through and copy, so enjoy the game now, just being able to put your own stuff together. So far for the start of the game, I can give it 5 Jerry's, and I hope you guys also take the time to check out the game and see if you also like it. There will be more PoE content on the channel as I play through the game, and primarily as I push out something for one of the characters that I'm playing on, just to give an example of what playing early is like, and what kind of build that you can make for synergy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.